Hello, all, and welcome to our Thursday evening show, The Community and the Constitution. We've had a lot of new listeners lately, and that's great, so we're going to do a little bit of review. I also want to hit on a couple of things here in the chat room. Chat room's already going crazy tonight. Chris is in there posting all kinds of great stuff for everyone. A lot of talk on everybody's minds with the debt ceiling and, of course, the presidential inauguration thing that went on. Ooh, yay, big fucking deal. Excuse my French, just earlier in the show. Anywho, yeah, he's in. Yeah, he gave the speech. Oh well, same as always. Nothing's going to change. By now, you should have noticed a 2% plus better increase in your taxes coming out from your Social Security. That took effect a couple of months ago, so you might notice a little bit less in your paycheck. Also coming up in the next couple of months, you're going to see another increase of about 1.5%, I think is the latest numbers I'm hearing. And that is going to be going to the Medicaid side of your withholdings. Yes, folks, by the time we're done, by the end of 2014, and this all comes about, you're going to be looking at, for the most part, you're going to be looking at, probably an additional anywhere from 15 to 19% additional income coming out of your check. Now, this is already on top of the great amount that people already have coming out of their paycheck. Yep, it's not going to happen here in the U.S. So some of the arguments say, really? Guess what? It's happened before. At one time, the United States citizens were taxed as high as 55%. All right, 55% of your income, and this is what y'all keep voting in. Of course, voting is a crime here, and those of you who've been here long enough, you know that. Treason by design. If you don't understand it, go look it up. And that'll bring you to that point. The debt ceiling, well, that was a topic of a discussion with one of my friends earlier there, and he says it's been going on all day. Of course they raised the debt ceiling. Because they can. Of course they'd give themselves raises. Because they can. The bottom line, folks, ever since the Federal Reserve came into play, there has never been real money anymore. It's all FRNs, Federal Reserve Notes. It's legal but not lawful tender. There's a difference. One has debt attached to it, the other does not. The FRNs everybody knows about is private. It's a private company. It has nothing to do with the feds. As far as a government agency, it is a private corporation who prints money for the union to utilize. Right? It's private. It is not public. That is why you have to pay interest on it. It's not ours. Well, ever since they did that, since the very first FRN was ever printed officially, the USA has been bankrupt. USA has always been a corporation. In order to be bankrupt, you have to be a corporation. Well, officially, that should have told you right then that, hello, the USA, of course, is a corporation. Always has been from day one, folks. There's no magic bullet here. No magic date. Ooh, on this date. Now, so when you hear these people talking about, we're going to go back to the original Constitution of this date, they're lying to you. They're scamming you. Either that or they simply do not know what the F they're talking about. Anyhow. Yeah, since that day, it has been officially bankrupt because the first FRN was printed, and there was a lien put upon it, upon the corporation. Okay, this just gives you a little bit of idea and background of what's going on in the world today. Now, a lot of people say, "Oh, you must be crazy, you must be nuts." You know, the USA is a corporation, and I tell you, it's not even a country. And we're going to get into a lot of that. We're going to do some reviews for all the new listeners that have been tuning in as of late. And we're going to review the Constitution today. That's, of course, provided we have time, because we just never know what Jose's going to bring to the table. He's having trouble, as always. Jose, remember, you got to open up 2 separate browsers, brother. That's why I was having so much trouble last week. And as always, we have Jesse on the line with us. How you doing, dear?
I'm back. Well, I'm okay. Hi, everybody. My son's not sleeping, so I'm a little annoyed. So you're gonna. I've got the baby monitor on, so you'll hear him cry off and on. Sorry, but Yeah. Anyway, I'm doing fine. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. I'm always doing good, you know. Nothing exciting down here to report. Same old, same old. Just a little, another little hint, because people with what's been going on with the inauguration and that, you know, from time to time, it tells you right in the documents, you know, the president does give an address. And it kind of follows shortly after the inauguration. You know, he'll call up Congress and Senate, and he'll give the address. Well, what's the name of that address he gives? The State of the Union. It's not the State of the country's address. It's not the United States of America address that the president gives. It's the State of the Union. Now, they tell us all the time the truth, folks. But we hear the word and we don't understand what they're saying, or, you know, we just simply, you know, have heard it so often. It's been repeated a million times. Just like with the word democracy. Well, read your organic constitution and look at your forefathers, and they've been asked when they came out, so what do we have? And the quote's been, well, you have a republic, if you can keep it. Yet every day, day in, day out, no matter what channel you listen to, what do you hear? We live in a democracy. They're running around the world preaching democracy. They're having wars up and down the Middle East and here and there and everywhere, all in the name of democracy. Democracy is evil, folks. Evil, evil, evil. That is a enslaved, a conquered people live in democracies. That's right. If you're a citizen at any form there of the word, you are a slave. You are chattel property. That's by law of contracts, folks. Law of contracts. It always comes back to that. Okay. I want to read over some of these postings here today before we get into anything else. And so those two will give. Oh, looks like here we go. Jose, you with us?
Yep, I finally found. Yeah, I don't know what it is about this thing. Internet Explorer it's the only stable one I can call in on that doesn't give me too much of a problem. Firefox won't hold, doesn't hold Skype on my computer the way it's supposed to.
Interesting.
And so I have to use multiple browsers to do all of this. But, I was thinking that's kind of the way things have been done to us, throughout history. They used multiple directions of attack on us. So now, I'm kind of getting a little bit more insight from what I'm learning about my computer to the way the system actually is set up. Like I have to use Firefox for one thing. I have to use Internet Explorer for a completely different thing. And then I'm using Google for a totally different thing. And then I've got Skype program opened up so that I can talk to you guys, right? Well, I was thinking there's the financial aspect, money. They use that to attack us and enslave us. They used law, which is the 14th Amendment, and the, 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, the Reconstruction Amendments, where they reconstructed the Constitution. They didn't reconstruct the country because it's bullshit. They didn't go around giving people money so that they could have, so that they could rebuild their houses and all that kind of stuff. No, that's not the Reconstruction that was done. They brought together the North and the South. No, the North and the South were already together. They were both together under the Confederacy. Under the Articles of Confederation, the North and the South were together. They were never apart. It's when they created the Constitution of the United States of America that they separated some of the states. But in its original writing, they wrote in it all the names of all the states. it's not until Lincoln himself, being the first dictator, proclaimed war against all the individual states and as a group. So you see, if New York had invaded New Jersey back then, it would have just shown the truth. If Rhode Island had invaded Maine, it would have shown the truth. If Georgia had invaded Alabama, it would have shown the truth, wouldn't it? Lincoln went and proclaimed war on all the states. It was him against the states. It wasn't the North against the South. It was an international war wherein, for each individual state, he claimed war on all the other states. It was individually and severally. And it was an international war, and something that I've been trying to get through to people all week long. You gotta understand, when you say United States of America, considering that the word state, country, and nation all mean exactly the same thing, you gotta get it. Gotta get it. You gotta understand it. You got to see the definitions for what they're saying. State, country, and nation all mean the exact same thing. Therefore, when you say United States, you are also saying United Countries. You are also saying United Nations.
Well, now the United Nations didn't come into play till 1945.
Yeah, but still the definition sticks, Doc.
Well,
it
yeah.
stands. Okay, yeah. It was an international war. Each individual state was a country of its own, standing upon its own constitution. Right?
Yep, absolutely.
That makes the United States the very first United Nations.
Oh, I got your thing. Okay. Yeah, it's just when sometimes certain language people think it right away, the UN, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm not talking about the UN, as
there
we know
go.
the UN now, the blue flag with the big old Roman.
I just wanted to clarify because we have a lot of new listeners, so we don't want to lose them.
Yeah.
Like, huh? What did he say?
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to bring it down so that people, can easily understand it and it not be too darn confusing.
There you go.
But in a law constitution, such as Bouvier's of 1856, as it was created for the Constitution of the United States of America, and in Black's Law first and second editions, and in the American Heritage Dictionary that I use, it's one of the newer versions, and any Webster's, and you can find all these definitions online. You break it down. Go word for word if you have to, But you can see that the word state, nation, country, as it applies, each one's got their own constitution, therefore each one is their own, they're all the same. It's the same status on all of them. State, nation, and country all mean the same thing. Okay, we get past that point. Now we understand what the federal government actually is. It's a union of nations. That makes all 50 states nations. And yeah, who the president is should not bother us one bit. Is Obama attempting to proclaim war again on the states individually and severally? No. He knows it's already been done. He knows that war never ended. He knows it. Your congressmen know it. Your governors, your senators, your representatives, they all know this. And if they don't know this, you need to get them up to par and let them know that this will not stand in America. People of status, the higher status, the lower status, the in-between status, the status on the left, the status on the right, the status to the front, the status to the back, whatever it is, I don't give a damn. You know, people of status have also got to understand that these people are not proclaiming war on only the slave status. They're not proclaiming war strictly on the United States citizen. These people really just don't give a damn about anybody but themselves. And yes, they do get into these little arguments. They bicker amongst each other, and they don't like anybody to begin with other than themselves. I doubt they even care about their own families. But what they're doing is they're manipulating us again. They did it in Rome, and the people didn't learn. Well, you know, there was schooling, there was no internet, there was no way to share massive quantities of information without actually going to the Roman libraries and looking up Rome's history. Okay, no problem. They did it in Europe. Well, how many places in Europe did they do it? Just about every place in Europe, oh my God. The biggies are England, Russia, and Germany. A little bit of Spain in there, and a little bit of France. But Europe, you know, and Russia. And people didn't learn. We had World War I. Nobody learned. World War II. Nobody learned. And you know something, I was looking at the length of time that these wars have lasted. You know, in comparison, World War I and II, compared to the Afghanistan war, it's currently, about 11 years of war, going on 12 or something like that. That's a long war. Our revolution didn't last that long. I mean, what was it, about 2 years? 2.5 years, something like that. Almost 3, maybe. I don't know exactly, but I had the statistics. And it gives you any wonder what it is they're doing to us? They're fleecing us. We're the ones that are paying for their war. And we use their private money. And it is very private. And believe me, to them, it is money. To us, it is currency. Currency is like water. That's why it's called currency. Because it has a current. Water has a current. Like in a river, it flows from point A to point B. That's all it does. And believe me when I tell you that it is taxed at every interchange. As a matter of fact, they set up a surtax on it when they first created, just in case you're giving money to your son and you're not paying taxes on that transfer, or he's not paying taxes on that transfer. Guess what? You're going to get taxed one way or the other. That tax is going to get paid. And the fact of the matter is, you know, what can you do? Well, you can leave the system. You can get away from their funny money. You can get away from their monopoly money is all it really is. You know, the only difference between a $1 on the Monopoly game and the $1 bill that you spend at the store, the only real difference is whether you believe it has value or not. If you don't believe it has value, then it has no value. But they're equal beyond that. It's the same thing. And I'm trying to explain this to people. Been trying to explain it to people all week long. And it's just now I've been talking to this guy about the 14th Amendment for about 2 weeks now. And all of a sudden he comes out of left field with the 4th Amendment. And I told him, look, you're not party to the 4th Amendment. You're not party to the first 10 amendments. You are only party to the Reconstruction Amendments. And he still came back at me with the 4th Amendment. Oh, we got to change, we've got to take the contextual meanings and do this and maybe jump through some hoops and be good little monkeys. No, I don't think so. That's it.
But, well, I'll tell you, on that note, I had that discussion earlier, too, myself. People are trying to say, well, like the Second Amendment was a big conversation a couple of weeks ago, and it's still, of course, on everybody's mind. And it's like, again, as a citizen, as a 14th Amendment citizen, it doesn't apply to you. You don't have rights. You have privileges granted by the master/ruler who issues permits and privileges. If it was a right, you would not need a permit. That is the difference between a 14th Amendment citizen, i.e. chattel property, i.e. slave, whatever you want to call it, compared to a person with true status within his or her own nation. Now, again, the nation is their state. It's their rightful countries, the republic. Now you enter back into your organics and into your state constitutions. It all comes down to that one thing. Now, you're right as well as also saying that, it's not going to matter when the hits the fan because, when a bomb goes off, it's not going to check your identification whether or not you have status or not before the debris hits you in the face. Okay? The soldiers themselves are not going to be trained to check for status at the beginning. Okay? Those things are going to be sorted out later on. But then once it is sorted out, then they have to adhere by the law. That's when the difference would come into play in that particular situation. What we talk about often, we've done many shows on, as you brought up Lincoln and the war between the states, which was, again, a sanctioned war at the international level. It was not a civil war of any sense or form, and that goes even by the Supreme Court, backs that up. They're the ones who clearly states, no, it was a war between nations. Remember, states, nations, country are all go together.
Yep.
With that war has yet to end. Okay? With the declaration of martial law by Lincoln, it's still active today. It's never gone away, folks. This is where they get you. And they don't have to tell you about it. There's nowhere in there that says you must notify the public when they're operating under martial law. Well, there you go. They just never told you. Well, they did in the beginning, but they never ended it. So, hey, it's still going on. We just decided not to bring it up anymore and tell you guys about it. But, however, it's still there. That's the law system we work under. Before this page disappears on me here, I do want to read a couple of these things here that I've been holding up on in the chat room so I can see what else is going on in chat, if you guys wouldn't mind. Let's see. Agent definition, Black's laws. Yeah, it's starting to scroll on me, so bear with me here for a minute. a relation created by either express or implied contract or by law. And it just went to a previous page. God dang it. I hate when I try to do that. That's the only problem with trying to read the chat. It goes by so quick, and I have little control over it. So just bear with me. A general agent is one who is employed in his capacity of a professional man or a master of an art or trade, or one to whom principal confides his whole business or all transactions or functions of a designated class. Or he is a person who is authorized by his principal to execute all deeds, sign all contracts, or purchase all goods required in a particular trade, business, or employment. Special agent can be considered the same as a general agent, but confined to particular person's object, purpose, or class. Agency definition, Black laws, continues a relation created by either express or implied contract or by law, whether by one party, called the principal or constituent, delegate that transaction of some lawful business or the authority to do certain acts for him or in relation to his rights or property, with more or less discretionary power to another person called the agent, attorney, proxy, or delegate, who undertakes to manage the affair and render him an account thereof. The contract of agency may be defined to be a contract by which one of the contracting parties confines the management of some affair to be transacted on his account to the other party, who undertakes to do the business and render an account of it. Apparent agency definition. And it goes on. Conduct by an agent that causes another party to believe that the agent is authorized to conduct business on behalf of a principal, whether or not that is the case. The principal may be legally bound by the apparent agency. Now, I want to pause there for a minute because it brought up something I had watched last week. I can't remember the lady's name. She used to work for the IRS, black lady. Goes around preaching about how the IRS is not what you believe it is, and tells everybody, how wrong it is. And it tells you right in there. She was out in the field. She tells you her whole thing. She was out in the field, and she was, doing all these different things with this license, acting on the behalf of the Internal Revenue Service as an agent. However, there's two separate licenses. One that is as an authorized agent, and the other one is some other type of agent. They both work for the IRS. One basically is the pencil pusher, and the other one's out in the field. Well, she was out in the field all these years. When she found this out, she goes and looks it up, and turns out, guess what? She's supposed to be a pencil pusher. She's not licensed to be out in the field, and she's been out there, doing all this stuff.
Yeah. And she was not licensed to carry any kind of weaponry at all.
Right. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, nothing. Absolutely nothing.
And she was
out there doing it. The other thing is they sit there, and when they put the liens on people for, you're behind on your taxes, whatever it is, and they come put a lien on you. Well, you go and look at the bank paper that's submitted, the paper that's submitted to the banks that, there is a lien notification on you. Well, you look at it, and it starts, you got this nice little paragraph, and it starts with B. Section B, and then it goes Section C. Well, where the hell's Section A? We all know the alphabet starts with A. The bankers or nobody else ever question this, because if you actually read Section A, it clearly states that they can't do that. It's illegal. They cannot do that. It applies only to, and it gives a specific list of who this type of lien applies to. And guess what, folks? It doesn't apply to a citizen. It doesn't apply to an alien. It doesn't apply to anyone as far as an individual goes. So I found that quite amazing when I go over there. It's just that, we do things blindly. We just act. Okay, we're sheep. Now, the sheep herder says do this, we do it. And it all comes down to this, how it's all craziness and how there's these different type of agent, depending on, do you have an agent of authority? Are you an agent of something else? Blah, blah, blah. But all they know is they're agents. She did this for 11 years, I think. She worked for the IRS without even knowing this herself. And she was doing all this unlawfully. Chris goes on to say that proceeding is preparatory knowledge for the following facts. The IRS is not a U.S. government agency. It is an agency of the IMF. Diversified Metal Products versus IRS, and it gives the whole case numbers. Senate Report 94-1148, page 5967, and Reorganization Plan number 26, Public Law 102-391. And you guys can look all that up for yourself if you want to continue with the research on that. The IMF is an agency of the UN. That comes right out of Black Law's Dictionary, 6th edition, page 816. The U.S. has not had a treasury since 1921. That's 41 Statute, chapter 214, page 654. The U.S. Treasury is now the IMF. Presidential Document, Volume 29, number 4, page 113, 22 United States Code 285-288. The United States does not have any employees because there is no longer a United States. No more reorganizations. After over 200 years of operating under bankruptcy, it's finally over. Executive Order 12803. Do not personate one of the creditors or shareholders, or you will go to prison. That's 18 United States Code 914.
Can I stop you there?
Absolutely.
All right. Now here's where I see a connection to the UCC over where everybody's filing these UCC 1s and and your UCC 3s, addendum to the one, and liens on their birth certificate, their commercial person, or whatever you want to call it, corporate person, and all that other stuff. That's where it ties in. You guys are contracting with the U.S. government and your individual state governments, of course, but you're putting a claim on a piece of paper that is not yours, and you're putting a claim on whatever they do with it, which, according to what I've learned, it's getting traded on the stock market. Well, big deal. It's not yours. You didn't create that piece of paper. You didn't instigate that. It is not yours. And when you put a claim on something like that, guess what? They're going to start calling it paper terrorism. I've already heard that. I heard that last year. At about this time last year, is that they're considering that is paper terrorism. Because so many people have filed, the UCC 1,
which you don't.
And then they send in, I guess, a whole ream of paper as a UCC 3 to back it up. Simplification.
And it doesn't apply to you.
Yeah, and it never applied to you to begin with.
This is what you're getting. What does UCC stand for?
Uniform Commercial Code.
Thank you. Commercial. Doesn't apply to you people. Now, the USC, which is the United States Code. Again, if you're a status, it doesn't apply to you. That's called operating within their private law system. It has to do USC. When you see that, it says United States Codes. Think United States Corporation. Think United States Citizen. Okay? Those are slave volumes. Those are volumes of structure for slaves. All right, for their property. And again, 90% of it doesn't even apply to you. So don't get confused by all this stuff. There's only two more things here. Let me go through real quick, and you can keep going with that. Social Security numbers are issued by the UN through IMF. Now, I'm going to stop reading there for a second. That may be so as of today. Remember, the UN didn't come into exist until 1945. I also had to do some back tracing and research because there was somebody was asking me about passports, and of course, as state national, I'm not one yet. State nationals, we make our own passport. It has to do with right to travel or something. There's some sort of travel document that we do. But it was actually for somebody over in Europe, and I went through it and traced it. And you realize that over there in Europe, in order for them to get a passport, they actually have to apply for one, just like we do here. But you know who they apply to? Washington, D.C. That blew my mind. Like, you got to be kidding me. So when you hear people we're still under the crown, well, there you go. I don't know if we're under it or actually over them, as they have to come to us for such things as passports. So that's just something to think about, but that's a whole other topic altogether. Let me continue here. Social Security numbers are issued by the UN through the IMF. The application for a Social Security number is the SS5 form. The Department of the Treasury, IMF, issues the SS5, not the Social Security Administration. The new SS5 forms do not state who or what publishes them. The earlier SS5 forms stated they are Department of the Treasury forms. You can get a copy of the SS5 you filled out by sending Form SSA/L996 to the SS Administration. That all falls under 20 CFR Chapter 111, Subpart B, 422, 103B, 22, 2 and 2. Read the sites above. There are no, I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, and I've mentioned it often. There are no judicial courts in America, and there has not been since 1789. Right? There has not been an official, licensed, sitting judge on any bench since 1789, according to this date. Judges do not enforce statutes and codes. Executive administrators enforce statutes and codes, and that comes from FRC versus GE 281 US 464, Keller versus PE 261. U.S. 428, one statute, 138 to 178. So the information's out there. That's my point, folks. There's tons of it out there. If you follow some of the court cases from the Supreme Courts, if you actually read the law, you're going to see tons and tons of information to back up all this stuff. And that's the point. People, well, show me the law. Prove to me. Well, there you go. We've read over in the past. I went through the whole entire Social Security thing. There's a blog on my ATS. Go to Above Top Secret. You can look up Dr. Meola over there. You'll see all my threads, and there's actually one on Social Security Examined. And it tells you right in there who is required. And the same thing goes with the passport. If you actually read the rules and regulations of required, who is required to get a passport and what you have to provide, it tells you right on it. The only thing you need is a TIN number. Well, your Social Security number, folks, is not your TIN number.
No, it isn't.
You do not need a you do not need a passport. And there is considered one court still that's supposedly the hot man, and that is the one in Philadelphia. A lot about that. I don't know, but it's U.S. citizens just can't access it. It's higher than that of the Supreme Court. Again, that falls under your status. People talk about the common law courts. You don't have access to a common law court as a U.S. citizen. That's the problem, folks. This is where you get confused. Right? Every federal building in the U.S., to the best of my knowledge, every federal court in the Union, all right, the second floor is where they would hear common law issues. The magistrate, if you will, wears two hats. The only one who can preside over such a case is the Attorney General of each individual state. They are the ones that wear the two hats. They are the head magistrate. However, you cannot access that individual as a citizen. Only those with status have access to that court system. So again, it comes down to the choice. What is your choice? Remain a slave by title, by choice, by your contract of the system, and continue to work with off-the-wall remedies from within the system by using the UCC and the USC and all the other crap out there that work some of the time. Most of the time is just crap. All right? Why bother? Don't waste your money. Don't waste your time and effort studying all that junk that's going to do nothing but clutter your mind, make you think like you know something, when really you don't know squat. And you have no standing in court. All right? It may get you out of a ticket or two. Beyond that, it's useless.
Well, if nothing else, it'll at least teach you how to act in court.
Well, there you go.
You know, it's always good to know how to act in court, but then you're just acting, right?
Court. This is the whole point. If you have status, you never go to court. And be able to spend my time all day running around answering all these, tickets and whatnot in courts, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, well, if I correct my status, I'm going to have my, all this paperwork I got to do, and I always, got to take time off work to run and, challenge all these, tickets or whatever the case may be. I'm like, no, you'll never even get a ticket. And for the rare occasion that you do not go to court. You can't go to their court because you're not subject to their jurisdiction. You simply pick up the phone, call your local, your state, your country's attorney general, give them the ticket number. The attorney general makes a phone call on your behalf, and they squash the ticket. It never goes inside a courtroom. You will never step foot again with status ever inside a courtroom. So you don't need to know how to act in a courtroom. You don't need, all the nonsense and the BS because you can't be there. I got a response here in my Skype here, and it says I'm absolutely correct. That is why the second floor is always vacant, except for security. Going back to what I was telling you about the second floor of the federal courthouses, and the second floor is the nastiest of all the federal courtrooms. Been there? Yes, I've been up there myself. They're not maintained. Usually in a state of disrepair and disarray. They're not cleaned or anything because it's not used. But they have to have it. They have to have it because that is the common law court. However, there's only, a couple of thousand state nationals running around. We never have any issue. So, nobody uses the damn thing. They use it for office space and storage. But yeah, you can't get up there. It's not even like you can go up there. There's an elevator and it's right behind the guard. And you go to a federal court building and say, I want to go upstairs. I'm sorry, what's your business here? The only way you're going to get up that stairs in some states, like they do here in Florida, they use the second floor to do bankruptcy hearings, which is nothing more than two lawyers sitting across from each other, blah, 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 shifting the files. You say, I do. Okay, you're done. Boom, 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 you're out the door. That's about it, because a bankruptcy, I guess, either for lack of space they use the second floor, or maybe because it is something that does fall under that particular jurisdiction of the common law. I really don't know. Or really, like I said, it's just because, hey, there's no other office space around, so they use the second floor. But other than that, you can't just walk into a federal courthouse, jump on the elevator, and try to get to the second floor. Not happening, folks. You have zero access. Right? If you're a citizen, sorry about you. That floor is not for you. But ask anybody in the building, who's been there and have had that experience, and they'll tell you, it's a mess. It's in disarray. It's not maintained. It's not clean. The ceiling tiles falling down. Can't believe the last time was dusted or vacuumed in most cases. It's used for the security officers hang out. They sit up there, drink coffee on their break and whatnot. That's about it. Because nobody has access to it anymore. You don't have the right to access that particular or yeah, go.
Okay, so it said here in the chat room, if you ever go to court if you're a state national, please posted this. If you're a state national, there is the possibility that you could be dragged in there, so into a courtroom. So it is handy to know how to handle yourself before a judge, at least at some level of competency. Yes, that is very true. But the only reason that you're going to be dragged into one of their courtrooms under anything, it won't be under their jurisdiction. It'll have to be, once again, under our own common law jurisdiction, because this is what you need to do to actually get dragged into their courtroom. You would have to destroy somebody's property or harm it in some way, and then refuse to pay. You would have to destroy somebody's rights or harm their rights in some way, and then refuse to make up for the damages, or murder. And there is the slightest possibility, but I doubt it, because it's the only law or the only defined crime within the U.S. Constitution, and that is treason. You know? You might.
Easy one.
Maybe.
The treason is so easy to fight. You'll never see any citizen, non-citizens, that you won't see that happening, because they won't allow that that word, all right, to ever see the inside of a courtroom. Because if anybody's ever read Treason by Design, they understand what real treason is. So if you're ever charged with a treasonous act, you'll never see it inside of the courtroom. You'll never get there, because if it goes to court, it's got to be on the record. They would have to go around and arrest every single registered voter in the union, because those are the ones who are committing the crime of treason. So that never see that be implemented on any individual within the union, even those in higher up positions. You just won't see that particular one. But you're right. People say, well, murder and all that. Well, that comes down to causing injury. The common law is pretty simple. If you damage someone's property, you fix it. You hurt somebody, you make restitution. You fix it. And that's pretty much it. There is something you could do when you're in court, and it works sometimes. It's one of those 50-50 shots, especially if they're busy. You can get away with it. You get a ticket of some sort. You go into court, and all you do is simply walk into court, and when the judge calls your name, just simply stand up and say, common law, I do not consent and claim no benefits. I do not partake or claim any benefits. And usually right there on the spot, without going into anything else, boom, case dismissed. I've seen that happen time and time again. Now, people say, well, how come that happened? Well, because they're not going to take the time to challenge you. All right, the first words out of your mouth was common law. The second thing was, okay, so now you've already made it clear you want to be in common law. You're proving your common law status by stating you're not a partaker of the benefit. You do not consent, and you're not a partaker of the benefits. Only 14th Amendment citizens have rights to the benefits. That's your permissions, your permits, your Social Security, your driver. All that stuff falls under the guise of benefits. If you're not a partaker of any benefits, which they would have to prove you that you're not, and they don't have time to do that crap in traffic court, right? Case dismissed, move on to the next person. And sometimes it's that easy. Right? It really is sometimes that easy. But you better know what you're talking about. And pleased to meet you. Thank you so much, as always. That's who made that quote. He's often joins us here every week, just like so many of our listeners. And it's always good to see him in the chat room. And he's the one who brought up that on the know what you're doing, general appearance when you go to court. And it's good to learn that. You can learn the proper way. The difference is you won't have that fear. When you're a state national, you know your rights. You know the law, the real law. They don't have jurisdiction. So you can go in there with that cocky attitude like you see lawyers walk in there all the time with. They go in, they kick their feet up, they sit sideways in the bench. To them it's a country club. And if you go in like that and you don't show the fear, you don't show that, your uncertainty, if you will, and you go in there acting like, hey, you're a lawyer or your own representative, whatever it would be, and you do it properly and with the proper attitude without being too cocky, you know what I mean? But be affirmative, be strong in your standing and affirmative. You'd be surprised. Also, get into the habit of hanging out. If you got time, go down to the courts, sit in on them, watch the procedures, watch how it all takes place. I used to love doing that when I was in high school taking pre-law. Every weekend you would find me down at the county courthouse. I'd go down to the big courthouse. I'd sit in on rape cases and murder cases, anything that was going on up there on the upper floors, with the big trials. I would sit in. I'd be taking notes like I was a jury and, watching what the prosecutor's doing, what the district attorney, the defendants are doing. It's a circus. If you go in and look at it as entertainment, it's phenomenal. It's great, and you'll learn a ton. You really will. You don't have to get stuck on quoting all these different statutes and the codes. You don't need all that garbage. You really don't. You just need to know what you're talking about, because there's a maxim in the law that few understand, and it's called. I can't remember the exact title of it now, and I even drew a blank on the Latin on it. But anyway, the judge, when you present your case, you're standing up for your case, always use the word, to my understanding. Use that phrase. Right? So when you read something, right, and you can explain to him that this is what you believed, that it was your understanding and your belief that this is what that particular statute meant or referred or was referring to, and you can clearly show that to the judge, he has no choice, or she has no choice, but to rule in your favor. People don't realize that. One, they don't maybe understand it, and two, it's something you don't hear too often, okay? But it always comes down to what your understanding of a particular statute is at the time of the event. In other words, I didn't know I was doing anything wrong. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. However, I do know the law. This is the statute, but this was my understanding of the statute. That gets you out of that ignorance of the law is no excuse. I wasn't ignoring the law. I do the law. I misinterpreted that, a different word. Misinterpretation compared to ignorance is two totally different things. And again, time and time again, hanging out in the courts as often as I did, I see things like this. It works. The judge has no choice. If that is clearly your understanding of the statute as it's written, he must rule. The balance leans to your favor. And so, again, it's just in the wording. So it's great to hang out, learn these little key tricks and words and what to do. Excuse me.
Yeah, it all kind of gets a little bit complicated and interesting, and the more you start seeing the bully police officers. I mean, there's a lot of good police officers out there, but there's some that are bullies. They're just outright jackasses, honestly. I've run into 2 or 3 that are, complete jackasses. I've run into 6 or 7 lawyers that are complete jackasses. I've run into 2 Yeah, two judges that were, I mean, okay, but they're people. That's how you got to see them. They are people, just like you, me, your neighbor down the road, that guy that lives across town, policemen, judges, lawyers, politicians. They're all people. We're all equal. There is no I'm better than you or you're better than me. Because you know what? When you take away everything, what are you left with? Well, lose all the money and the material things. What are you left with? You're left equals. Just because somebody has more junk than you does not mean that they are better than you. Just because they have this silly job, and they're called call it a king, does not make that guy better than you. He's only convinced some small group of people that he has the power over you because he can get them to go there and beat you up. Well, you know what? That one individual probably couldn't do that by themselves. There's no way. One police officer against me, that'd be a hell of a fight for him, I think. Now you get 3 or 4, and I get broken ribs. It's happened. I'm not just bullshitting. It's happened. Okay, no problem. But one-on-one, oh no. You get me to sit down one-on-one with an attorney, I guarantee you he's going to back down. He's going to be like, oh, no, I don't want to mess with this. But you get it into a courtroom setting, and all of a sudden it's all, oh, yeah, right, whatever. Is this, am I being, what's that they charge you with? Condescending? Oh, no. Contemptuous. Yeah, I'm being contemptuous. I'm always contemptuous of the law. Why? Because it's not law. It's bull. It's bull crap. Whenever you go to sending a person to jail for not hurting somebody else and for being just themselves, maybe they did something stupid. Yeah, okay, but it's not against the law to do stupid things. Well, guess what? They've made it where it now is against the law to do stupid things. But in their system, you get out of their system, you can do whatever you want, so long as you don't hurt somebody else. I'm not saying it's okay to go out and be a jackass. I'm not saying it's okay to get your status and then go and drive around drunk and park your car in a ditch or get stuck or whatever. What I'm saying is, with more freedom comes more responsibility. And when you are not in their system, you've got a lot more responsibility than what you would have in their system, because their system is specifically set up to take care of you if you are being irresponsible. That's why there's such a thing as automotive insurance and health insurance, because people don't know how to eat healthy. Automotive insurance, because people get behind the wheel of a car and start acting like idiots. Medical insurance, because people don't like keeping themselves healthy. They'll just, I swear to God, I've seen people do it. Grab a spoon and go at it with the sugar. Well, little Johnny's got 24 sodas and he drinks 18 of them. What does little Johnny have? Johnny doesn't have 6 sodas left. Johnny has diabetes, stupid. That's what little Johnny got, because he drank too much soda. You know, these are all common sense things, people. It's just common sense. And that's where the common law comes in. You got to know. You got to learn. You got to study. You got to go look for this stuff. It's out there. It's all over the place. And like we're always telling you, you know, go get the Red Amendment. Go get it. It lays it out for you. It's all right there in that book. Awesome book. I'm not going to sit here and read the whole book to anybody. That would be ridiculous now, wouldn't it? But I will tell you, I could probably take that book into a courtroom, set it down in front of a judge, and say, well, let's get to discussing. And they'd look at the book and probably dismiss the case because they don't want to go there, because they know where that goes. There are special classes that judges have to go through now. This was started up a few years back when the UCC movement really started grabbing hold. And they're starting to teach the judges how to handle all these UCC forms and this master slave, or should I say sovereign citizen thing. And they started to show the judges how all this ties together. Now, there's a lot there that the judges are going to have to learn. They're going to have to learn how to tie it all together and how it fits as a contract into all the other contracts that you already have with the government. You know, how it applies to your, the first real official contract that you do, not that your parents did, okay? The one that you do is when you sign up for selective service at the post office. It's called selective because you select whether you're going to sign up for it or not. And when you select to sign up for it, you have to claim to be a United States citizen. If you do not claim to be a United States citizen, you break that chain before it's even started. Right there it breaks. Oh, you've got a Social Security card because your mommy and daddy gave it to you, and you think that's good. No. Look, you dump the United States citizen thing, or don't claim it to begin with, you know, by signing up for selective service. You never use the Social Security card. You go get jobs. You contract your jobs. But you've got to know how to do the contracting part of it. And yeah, that's business. You should learn about business. Because if you're not learning about business and you live in America, buddy, you're just confused. It's not like you're wanting to know anything. It's like you're wanting to go out there and let people just take advantage of you. Okay? And now I'm a kind-hearted kind of guy. I'll get into some stupid contracts, and yeah, I know I'm being taken, but no big deal. You know, I'll get mine later, and I do. I always do. Okay. The third thing you don't do is you don't go and claim to be a U.S. citizen and ask the government for a driver's license, because a driver is a commercial job. You know, taxi driver, bus driver, truck driver, car driver, pickup driver, motorcycle driver. They're all contracts of the government, and you have to claim to be a U.S. citizen to get all three of them, or any of them. You have to. There's just no two ways about it. Go look. Go look at these contracts that you're signing. These are contracts of adherement. It's not a two-party contract, because guess what? You know what the law is. It's been written. It's out there. You know what their contract implies. You read it, you claim to be the U.S. citizen, and you signed it. You know? And then to get insurance, yeah, there are some insurance companies out there that will give a state national insurance, but it's by contract. On the other hand, most of them that I have seen will not give anyone insurance unless you happen to be a U.S. citizen. And you're claiming to be a U.S. citizen again. You know, every time you do that, you are claiming the status that is in the 14th Amendment. It's not any other type of status. It's not the pre-14th Amendment status that you're claiming. It's the post. It's after the Reconstruction Amendments. Sorry. You know, you're volunteering. It's volunteerism. You're volunteering to be one of their wards, a ward of the state. I'm sure everybody's heard that. Well, what is a ward of a state? How about a ward of the state? Oh, so the state was awarded you. Yeah, you were given to the state. Who gave you to the state? Well, when you turned 18, you claimed to be a U.S. citizen by signing up for selective service at the post office. Guess what? Well, now we're starting to see, that kind of coming around a little bit better. They have back in the discussion allowing women into combat, allowing women, and I'm guessing as far as infantry. A lot of American boys ain't going to like that. Personally, I don't like it. Although I do know some very tough ladies who I would not mind having at my side in a firefight, because I know they can shoot, and I know they're not afraid to pull that trigger. You know what I'm saying? Okay, good. But when it comes down to it, I think the ladies need to stay away from that part of life. Y'all have it hard enough as it is. You don't need to get into that. With that said, I think I'm going to try and shut up for another minute or two. I'm willing to bet Doc might have something to say.
Take a break, dang it. No, you're so right, though. I had walked away there for a minute, and you had started off on something, and I wanted to jump back on there, and because I'm holding conversations and chatting Skype, I kind of forgot what direction I wanted to go with it. But I had mentioned that we're talking about insurance and stuff in the chat room. The bottom line is you only require or mandate it to have insurance if someone else holds the title or deed to your property, be it your car, your house, whatever it may be. If you own a house outright, nobody else has claim to it, and you don't want to put insurance on it, don't put insurance on it. Of course, if it burns down, you're on your own there. You don't have insurance. Life insurance, same thing. Now, people are asking about, state nationals. Again, that's not a problem. As a state national, you can do everything that anybody else can do. We just have to do it a little bit differently. Our contracts read a little bit differently. You can get insurance, no problem. You just got to get a different underwriter. Now, these insurance companies that are existed, they're all, if you look, they're all under. You always look underneath. It'll say underwritten by. Okay, and you'll see, the name of a company, the name of a person, whatever the case may be. And that's what you need. You need an underwriter for that insurance. And not a problem. We can do that. Okay. We're actually looking to put together, we have enough people, of actually creating our own insurance company. Now, we do that with our trucking companies. We actually have what they call our own fleet insurance policies. There's no policy that, in other words, it's a bonding. It's a bond type of issue. There's not like we pay for our insurance on our tractor trailers and stuff. You simply, it's a $1 million umbrella policy, covers all your rigs, all your equipment, so on and so forth. And basically, it clearly states that if something was to happen, you were to get into an accident, and it's your fault, that the company will make restitution and pay the bills. It's a common law type of contract. Most of your large trucking outfits have this. Right? You'll see it. It says fleet insurance. Fleet insurance is underwritten privately, backed by the company itself. It is not some outside company that they pay, premiums to. That's the big difference. I mentioned tag enforcement, and a lot of people don't like. I'm letting a cat out of the bag here. A lot of people don't want to hear about this, or don't actually want you to know this information. That's what I have on my vehicle. It's called tag enforcement. You want to go to your insurance agency. You always see you see these things advertised all the time, $10 a month, and you always wonder, how come I can't get that? And how come I can't go to my insurance company? They're telling me, no, you need this, liability and collision. But again, it's if somebody else holds the title to your car, the deed to your car. Okay, if it's paid off, then it becomes a personal choice and personal responsibility. Each country within the union, each state, has its own guidelines. It's minimum requirements. Now, you go in and ask your insurance agency, I just want minimum liability. They're going to give you the minimum liability. Trust me, you're going to pay a lot more than $100 a year for it. But yet, you see these at, again, $10 a month, and all these other numbers, Well, how are they doing that? That's called tag enforcement insurance. Tag enforcement insurance, you must sell your case, in other words, plead your case to the agent that you're going to deal with, whoever the insurance company is. And if you have a fully understanding of what that is, they will underwrite the policy for it. That's what I have. My insurance cost me for the entire year in Florida. I pay about $70 for the whole year for my car insurance. Okay. That's it, folks. $70. Insured. However, you're insured only at the tag enforcement level. Now, what that means and why they call it tag enforcement, because if you have a tag, your car is registered, and you got a regular license plate on your car, in order for you to maintain that vehicle, all right, and to keep the tag active, if you will, so they don't code. You see people with their cars and they're, sitting on their front lawns, and people complain because they're not driven or anything, and they'll come over and ask you to remove it, or say you're breaking some kind of code, one code enforcement or another, and you got to get rid of the junk or get it, insured and registered type of deal. Tag enforcement ensures the license plate is an active plate. It also, again, varies minimal to minimal. You see your liability, which is 10-20-10. Mine's what they call a flat 10 policy. In other words, my tag enforcement is covered for $10,000. So that's it. It shows that flag tag is legal. It shows that tag is insured. For the state minimum requirement for tag enforcement, my state happens to be a flat $10,000, not 10-20-10. That's your liability stuff. In other words, I can't get a dime out of it. I can't sue. If it's my fault, I get hurt. I'm covered for up to $10,000. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Doesn't matter. All you got to do is go in and sell it. Say, look, I know what it is. I've been driving, but how I went in, look, I'm a professional driver since I was 18. I'm now going, 50 years old. I've been driving for 40 some odd years. I've been, driving since I was 14, driving professionally since I was 18. I've had not one single chargeable accident in all those years. I do not require insurance. Simply give me the tag enforcement. And they'll say, well, do you really know what you're asking for? I know exactly what I'm asking for. Please write me a policy. Boom, no problem. Wrote it up. Out the door I went. The ID card doesn't look anything different. Nothing looks anything different. Okay, the only thing that looks different is the numbers on your on your policy sheet. But they're not going to offer and volunteer this information to you. You have to go in knowing what you're talking about. It's called tag enforcement. And it's strictly, in Florida, it's $10,000. It varies. Some states 15, some may only be, 10. I think the average across the union is 10. But real easy. It'll cost you about $10 a month. I also get other benefits because I have multi-car policies, and I get other discounts involved, so on and so forth. So that's why mine's only like $70 a year. But I think solo car on its own, tag enforcement, comes to about $10 a year. It's still $10 a month, rather. So you're looking at $120 a year. Most people right now are paying for insurance that they'll never, ever need, first of all, and they'll never need to be insured for that high of a dollar amount. So why are you paying, in some cases, $2,000 a year? That is ridiculous, folks. Uncalled for, not needed. You were upsold big time. So if you give yourself some money, if you're a good driver, never been in an accident or anything, simply call up your agent. Go down and see your local agent and say, hey, I want to knock down the tag enforcement only. Don't tell them anything else other than, they're going to say, they're going to ask you, do you know what you're asking for? I say, I know exactly what I'm asking for. Why do I need to pay for something that I've never put a claim in on for? Been paying for 40 some odd years and never once put a claim in, never once had an accident. So I don't need it. Have a nice day. And if I do, you still have an ID card, an insurance card to show law enforcement if you get pulled over, or to checking paperwork. Boom, yep, I have insurance. There you go. Card looks no different. Everything's still looks the same. It's just your policy is you'll see the policy numbers are going to be different. That's it. They're going to tell you need minimum liability. No, you don't. No, you don't. That's standard. That's what they want to tell you, and the state does have a minimum liability clause. However, you don't want that. Now, if you're a young driver, you're still, inexperienced, you only got about 10 years out there, 15 years out there driving experience, and you've done it without an accident, this is the path you want to take. However, if you're one that gets in the occasional fender bender, or still a fairly new driver, less than 10 years experience out there on the road in all weather conditions, you want to stay with the minimum liability. You do not want to go with the tag enforcement. Right? Again, it comes down to a personal choice. State nationals, we can do everything and anything everybody else does. We just do things a little bit differently, and it comes down to the contract. That's all you have to remember. It always comes down to one thing. Everything comes back to the contract. You'll also come across, as Jose was mentioning earlier in the show there, about different police officers out there, and judges and attorneys, and you get the ones that are real, and you get the ones that are great guys. Hey, they're out there. They're most of them will not give you a ticket. It's all in how you conduct yourself. There's rookies out there. Don't get me wrong. They're trying to make a name for themselves. They're trying to, meet the quota. If you're in one of those towns that has a quota, not all towns do. Some do. Some states have quotas. Some states don't. Now, if you're in one of those areas, well, you're going to get harassed a little bit more than anybody else on the average. If you go to a different state. But, however, the bottom line is most of the officers, especially if they've got 5-8 years experience out there on the road, will all say the same. If you got a ticket, you talked yourself into it. Okay? It was something that you did, something that you said, some way you conducted yourself that caused that officer to say, you know what, I ain't dealing with you, and would write you a ticket. Okay? Very few people out there I know of gives out tickets. You know, the officers I all know, the ones I train. And that's where I want to go with what Jose started with earlier, about how the judges now are taking this class. Well, you can blame some of that on me. For the last 2-3 years, I've been teaching my officers that take my courses and listen to my shows over the last 4 years how to utilize the Patriot Misbelief paperwork. Again, look that up. Look for the ATS, the above top secret thread on that. And you'll see Patriots Misbelief. That's the only document they need. They have, many of them have printed it out. They keep it in their folder in their patrol car and take that to work with them every day like it's their little Bible. And when they come across one of these UCC, Free Man on the Land, Admiralty Court, and all this other Patriot hype BS that's out there, if they don't remember off the top of their head how that's the misbelief is written, they go back to their car for a minute, look at it, and that's when they come back to the driver and say, really? Well, do you know the definition of blah, 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 you know, and it's all right there for them. So my officers are trained because you know why I want them trained? And they pass the information on to the next officer and so on and so forth. Folks, I want the police officers and law enforcement and judges and everybody else to know the truth and separate the difference between the hype of the misbelief and the BS that's out there that's being sold to these average citizens and want the true status. And if they're not taught and trained, how are they going to know? So, yeah, I'm a firm believer in that and how they're to deal with these people. Now, most of the judges, of course, all are aware of this. They've been aware of it for a very long time. It's not something they need to be trained for. And they also know to keep the illusion up that they have to let some of these hypes go from time to time. It's the only way to keep you guys distracted. It's the only way to keep the ruse going, if you will. Because if too many people found out the truth, too many people were out there correcting statuses and all, well, hell, that would make the current government obsolete. Because everybody would stand up and say, screw you, D.C., you're not even part of the union, you're not a country, you never were, you're nothing but a deadbeat, bankrupt corporation, and you're a bunch of power-hungry, warmongering, scumbag murderers. Sorry, but that's the plain, hard, cold facts, folks.
Yep. And we don't have to be associated with them. They are the criminals. You know, the only difference between a guy out on the street with a gun to your face saying, give me all your money, and a politician sending the IRS after you, the only difference is that the politician used a contract to swindle you into volunteering to give it up. You know? That's really the only difference. If you're not seeing it from that point of view, then, well, I don't know how much more plain I can do it. You know, how much more plain I can say it. We don't have to be associated with these criminals. You know, you have a right. You have the right to not be associated with criminals. Because when you associate with criminals, people start seeing you as a criminal too. I hadn't realized that. I don't know how many years. But, you know, I grew up a little bit there, and a long time ago, I started seeing that. So I cut down my associations with actual criminals as far as I could. You know, and I'm not gonna put my family to the side for anybody. And I don't care what status they hold. My family is my family. Cousins and uncles and aunts and whatever, yeah. You know, but acquaintances, if they are a criminal, I don't have to be associated with them, and neither do you. And none of these people up in the federal government, and the elitists, they don't have to be associated with them. Not by contract, not by personal knowledge, not in any type of way do you have to be associated with them. We need to get out of the system. It's a very criminal system. It's a very evil system. Because according to their rules, and now it's starting up again, believe it or not. I'm telling you, they're coming out with rules where the kids have to snitch on the parents. They have to talk about what the parents do at home. They have to tell their teachers. Well, when the child goes and confesses to the teacher that mommy and daddy drink a lot, you know, they sure do like that beer a lot, and this, that, and the other, and they have arguments, and it disturbs the child, well, that opens the door for Child Protective Services, and they're not protecting anything, to come in and take your kids. It opens the door for more of you being in court, spending more of your hard-earned money to protect yourself and to try and get back your children, protect your children from these criminals. You see, it's the way the system is set up. And these, I'm telling you, I've looked into it. I've looked into it as much as I could, and you should too. Because sooner or later, you're going to get the idea that I got. They're not stupid. They're not ignoring the law. They're going according to the contract makes the law. And you're adhering yourself through one of their contracts to them, thinking you're going to get protection, thinking you're going to get, I don't know what, retirement and all kinds of other benefits. Well, you're getting benefits. You're getting the benefit of their taxing your ass. You're getting the benefit of them putting you in their jail for your protection. You're getting the benefit, or should I say the privilege, of standing in front of one of their judges and being told how much of a criminal you are. You know, you get the benefit of that little heart attack you have whenever those lights, come on behind you. Believe it or not, those lights, that's a death threat. This is how I see it. When those lights come on behind you, for whatever reason, say you're doing 3 miles an hour over the speed limit. To me, that's nothing. Big whoop. I was only 3 miles an hour over the speed limit. Heck, you should have seen me yesterday. I was about 20. But those lights come on behind you. It's a death threat. If you don't believe me, turn on your TV, watch one of them bad boys, what you gonna do? Yeah, cops. Watch it. Watch what happens when they do these chases. It's a death threat. Those lights come on. That officer is telling you either you stop or I'm going to kill you. That's exactly what it's saying. Because if you don't stop, they start chasing you. And then all of a sudden, you've got 7 or 8 chasing you. Heck, in California, they've had as many, I believe, as 24 police officers chasing this one car at one time. That's 24 guns. That's a lot of bullets. You know? And you'll see it. Guy gets out of the car, or a girl gets out of the car, you know, and all of a sudden all the police officers are there with guns drawn, pointed at him. If that's not a death threat, I don't know what is. Those that still choose to resist usually get shot. Okay, maybe they got shot. Maybe they didn't die. But what was the point of shooting them? Well, from my experience, my military experience, my experience as a cowboy, and all my other experiences, there's only one reason to shoot a person, and that's because you intend to kill them. Malicious wounding or not, you shoot them in the leg, you could hit an artery. That person could bleed out very quickly. 3 minutes. That's all it really takes, about 3 minutes. You hit the right spot in the leg, 3 minutes, that person's dead. That's it. They're dead. Hit somebody in the arm, you hit them high enough, okay, it might take like 6 to 10 minutes, but if the ambulance ain't right there, buddy, you're gone. It could take that long to get to the hospital. You arrived, DOA. You know? Any place in the chest, or the head, or the neck, I can pretty much guarantee you're not going to make it to any hospital. And it's all because we volunteered to get into their system. We did this voluntarily by our own choice. And I'm not going to say, it's only our fault. No. The system was set up for this. It was set up for this specific reason, and it was set up to fail. And why was it set up to fail? Because they want, the one thing they want the most is total control of absolutely everything in the world. Well, how are they doing that? Well, they realized that kings and queens and their guillotines had a lot of control. Well, how did they have that control? They had all the money. They had a lot of military power, and they made the laws. Well, that's pretty much what it's the same stupid system we're in now. We're in a feud. F-E-U-D. If you know what a feud is, it means war. It means battle. It means fight. That's what we're in. We're in a fight. We're in a feudal system. It was discovered, I don't know how many thousands of years ago. It's been tracked and written down by the elitists and the world and nations, kingdoms, rulers, and their priests for a very long time. That's the other side of it. I'm not getting into the religious aspect of it because I got a lot to say. And I don't want, no, I'm not going to.
No,
I'll stick to the law. I'll stick to the law. I can prove the law thing. The religious stuff, it sounds a lot like conjecture, and it sounds a lot like hearsay. It's not, but it sounds like it.
Well,
but the point is,
interpretation.
Yeah, well, religion is a control point also. It's a huge control point. But we need...
The Vatican owns everything, folks. Remember that. Vatican's own Great Britain, Europe, all of it.
According to the contracts that I've seen, yeah, they do.
Yep. Including good old United States.
Yep.
It's all owned by the Vatican, people.
And we've got we have got the responsibility right now and the opportunity, and I see it as a humongous opportunity. We have the opportunity to change all this. We have the opportunity to bring down the system, the entire thing, on a planetary scale. And I don't mean just here in the States, but the world is looking to the Americans. The whole world is looking to us. What are you guys going to do about this system? That's the one thing they're asking. You know? Why? Because, duh, we're supposed to be the geniuses on the planet. We're supposed to be the great melting pot. We're supposed to be, well, we are pretty close to being the absolute strongest. But we're also kind of the craziest. You know, we do the crazy things that nobody else will do. And so the whole world is looking to us for help.
The last port and point of freedom. That's what we were at the beginning. And that's why they tried so hard through all kinds of means, from education to religious aspects, you name it, to control and dumb us down. That's how we became sheeple, folks. Didn't happen overnight. Took many, many, many long years and generations to get to this point. The good news is it's not going to take that many years and generations to get out of it. It may have taken 100 plus years to put us into this mess, but if enough people start getting this truth, start waking up to the facts, and a lot of us right now, hey, we may be stuck on the fence. You know, we know the truth, but for whatever reason, we just can't, you know, for one reason or another, can't get onto the other side. We can't correct our status. However, what we can do is teach our children and our grandchildren the truth and the fact, and raise up a whole new generation of those upon their 18th birthday. Instead of contracting with the government, they correct their status. And within just 2 short generations of teenagers correcting their status, you're going to be looking at a whole new world for the better. It may have taken them 200 years to put us here, but once we get going, and this is our year, folks, 2013, this is PAC's year. Classes are up and running. The new revised edition of the Red Amendment is out and ready to go. Classes overseen by LB, all the way on up to the status. It's all ready and waiting. Just waiting for you to take that first step. Learn the information. Even if you can't correct your status, get this information out. Then you won't fall for the idiots, the hypes, the garbage, the bullshit that's out there, and waste your money on all the other shit, quite frankly, because you'll know the truth. And you can teach that up-and-coming generation. Tell that 16-year-old, hey, man, don't go get a permit. Don't contract to that crap. Don't worry about your driver's permit. Okay? Don't worry about this stuff. Don't worry about, you know, all this other crap. And at 18 and a half, because that's when you got to make the lawful decision. When you got 18 and a half, you're supposed to make that lawful decision whether or not to remain a citizen, because you're stuck till you're 18 and a half, or a person of status. Of course, they don't tell you this, but it's in the law. If you go to pacalliance.us/education, you'll see that there's 2 separate classes, the basic class and then the advanced. Matter of fact, I think there's a 3rd class being put together, which is, full correction of status and that whole 9 yards. So it's like a progression. You start at class 1, which will give you all the basics. And then you go to step 2, which you'll start getting more into the advanced understanding of the law and the processes and so on and so forth, that by the time you get done with class 2, you actually will have the knowledge, maybe not the skill, but you'll have the knowledge actually to correct your own status, believe it or not. If you actually put the time in, do the homework and whatnot, or take the final step, which is graduate. Just, stay with PAC, stay through to join the membership, do it, join the society and have that full family behind you. Because that's what it is, folks. PAC is a family. You're a member. We have memberships at all different levels for the Not My Government forum, for these classes, so on and so forth. You'll see the classes includes, membership. You'll get a TRA. You'll get the membership into Not My Government forums and so much more. It's just so much involved in that. But yeah, just go check out the education section there. The first class, I don't think is actually scheduled to start yet because we're just waiting to get enough people to sign up for the course. Once we get enough people, then I'm sure I'll be starting those classes shortly, and then they'll be scheduled accordingly. I'm not sure how many people he wants minimum in the class, and I'm sure there's a maximum too. I don't think we want 200 people in one classroom, but I guess for level 1 would be okay. But when you start getting into the higher levels, that'd be a little bit different. But that's something that'll be decided as we go along here. So, just go to pacalliance.us/education, and you'll see step 1, 2, and 3. I think there you'll see the 3 programs for the different levels of education. So, education level 1, what it includes, prices, so on and so forth. So, great place. If you're just looking to get started in this and getting your first copy of the Red Amendment, the price includes a copy of the Red Amendment. So, if you don't want to just get the book and read and study off on your own, I recommend taking the first class. That gets you the book, plus the guidance and classroom atmosphere to help you through it. So it's great stuff. Like I said, a lot of good stuff coming together for the People's Awareness Coalition here this year. We're down to our last 15 minutes here tonight. I wanted to get into the Constitution, but for those that don't get into that tonight, just simply go to our team over at the freedomreigns.us main homepage. You'll see our team on the left side. Click on my name, and you'll see the original first 4 archived shows and the links and study links for it. And that all goes into your links to the law dictionaries and into the understanding the Constitution. Who we the people really are, which is not you and me, folks. Who they, the whole organic and how it was all put together and what it means in law. And you'll have a much better understanding just by those couple of shows and that one big show there breaking down the Constitution, Constitution Lesson 1, I believe is the title. That right there, it would be one of the biggest eye-openers to get you started. If this is new information for you, go there. Your next step, there's also a couple of links there you'll find. Pretty much a step down in order as you go through them. One would be the Patriot Mystic Beliefs, which I talked about a little while ago. And then, of course, PAC Deprogramming, the interactive movie based on the Matrix and whatnot. And that, great, a lot of fun, tons of information in there. Go through there, get deprogrammed. You'll start waking up and realizing all these things that are going on.
Yep. And every time you take a look at your paycheck from here on out, instead of going, "Oh, I hate you, Obama," or "I hate you, Barry Soetoro," whatever his name is, like I care.
Yeah, there you go.
What you should be doing is saying something like, "Oh, I hate you, 14th Amendment, because in right there, where it says at the end of the 14th Amendment that the debt of the United States shall not be questioned." The debt shall not be questioned.
That's
Doesn't say squat about paying it off. Nowhere does it say anything about paying off the national debt. Nowhere. I have not found it in law, any place. And I'll give you the right law reference to go look at. But you got to understand what you're reading and how you're supposed to read it. And yeah, it's in your statutes. I don't remember exactly where. I'll go and look it up again. Maybe take note of it again. It wasn't something that I'm all that interested in because, you know, when you finally start learning, it's the 14th Amendment that is the problem. There you go.
It's the trap.
Yeah. It's that U.S. citizenship that is the problem. You get out of that, you're out. Period. National debt or not. You don't care about the national debt.
Doesn't
because
apply.
that, you know, that has nothing to do with you. Not that it does now, very much. It's not your debt. That is the federal government's debt. You know, that's the United States in Congress assembled. That's who owes all that money. And it's the correct number is something more like 58 trillion. Don't believe me? Go look at the national debt clock. Go look at it. Read the whole thing. Of each little thing and what it says. They're trying to pass it on to you, but it's not your debt. You didn't create that debt. You didn't make that. To use Mr. Satoro's words, you didn't make that. They made that. The debt, all that debt belongs in the 10 square miles known as the District of Columbia. That's where that debt was created. That's where it needs to be collected from those that created it. That includes Mr. Satoro, the entire Clinton family, the entire Bush family. That's their debt. Let them pay it. Let's get away from them. They're a bunch of criminals anyways. We know them. We know how deeply criminal they are. I mean, for crying out loud, they're trying to put in Marxism and communism and fascism and a corporate oligarchy right here? Really? And we're allowing this? Why are we allowing this? Somebody tell me why, please? I mean, are the benefits, privileges, entitlements, are they really all that they're being cracked up to be? I don't think so. I've never found it, you know, economic from my point of view to be in jail or get stopped by a cop or get tickets or get beat up by a gang of guys that are, you know, dressed in black and have guns. That's never been a benefit to me, but that's one of the privileges that they gave me. How about y'all? Take good consideration for yourself. Love yourself. Do the right thing for you. If nothing else, at least do it for yourself. I've been sitting here typing away, and I've got some of my paperwork started. If I have to, I'll file it on my own. But I know how to. I don't believe I'm going to need a lot of help in doing that. But, you know, whatever. Do it for yourself. If you can't do it for yourself, you know, at the very least, get the book and read it, the 14th Amendment, above all the other books, or I should actually say with conjunction. According to the Red Amendment, in reference to the 14th Amendment, is the best that I've seen so far. Now, when it comes to international law, some people say Vattel, and I sometimes don't agree, you know. But hey, we all have a path that we can take. And yeah, although my opinion may be a little bit different than the person sitting next to me and we're reading the same book, so what? At least we have the same common goal. And isn't it the goal that we should all keep our eye on? Isn't that what we're all working for? Or are we just sitting here, working to bicker at each other? Is it the purpose? Is the bickering? Is that the purpose? Or is it the unity? The goal? Well, I'm pretty much going to shut up now. I've said what I've got to say. Y'all have yourselves a good night.
Amen, brother. Amen. Jesse, your mic is live, by the way, dear.
Yeah, I caught that. Thank you. I had myself muted because I'm on my way to go work for the lazy.
I love that expression.
Well, it's true. I mean, seriously, that's exactly what I'm doing. Well, granted, I'm collecting off of what they take from me, but I'm not one of the lazy ones. Damn it. I'm one of the ones that unfortunately needs that money right now, which sucks. But anyway, yeah. No, I could rant on about that all night. But, yeah, I'm on my way to go make money for the lazy people that don't want to do shit. So I have a meeting tonight at 7, and I want to be on time for it. And it's one of my short cleaning accounts tonight, so I figured I'd go ahead and leave a little early.
There you go. Well, you enjoy your meeting, as always, and love having you here with us. And I want to thank everyone for joining us here on this Thursday. We may be putting together another show soon here, Lee. We just have to get together. So we may be 2 days a week. And we'll just see how it goes from there. But yeah, I used to do 3 days a week if you include the Saturday dance show, but it just got to be way too much for me, and I needed to take a bit of a break. But yeah, we're going to try to get 2 days going again. It's just a matter of what day that's going to be. And of course, we would love to hear from you always when you can. Call in, check out the archives, do the research, folks. Don't take our word for it. Always do your research. There's tons and tons and tons of information out there on the PAC site for you to go through and discover. PDF after PDF, footnote after footnote. You can spend years hunting that, following that journey. It's exciting. It's educating. You'll learn more in, a couple hours a week going through that than you probably have your entire life. Same thing with the Red Amendment. We're down to the last few minutes. We're going to have a song take us out. Again, thank you all for joining us. And page here at freedomreigns.us. Who is that?
Good night, everybody. Have a good week.
Good night, all.
Hey, Jose. Who know that? Treason by design. If you don't understand it, go look it up. And that'll bring you to that point. The debt ceiling. Well, that was a topic of a discussion with one of my friends earlier there, and he says it's been going on all day. Of course they raised the debt ceiling. Because they can. Of course they'd give themselves raises. Because they can. The bottom line, folks, ever since the Federal Reserve came into play, there has never been real money anymore. It's all FRNs, Federal Reserve Notes. It's legal but not lawful tender. There's a difference. One has debt attached to it, the other does not. The FRNs everybody knows about is private. It's a private company. It has nothing to do with the feds as far as a government agency. It is a private corporation who prints money for the union to utilize. Right? It's private. It is not public. That is why you have to pay interest on it. It's not ours. Well, ever since they did that, since the very first FRN was ever printed officially, the USA has been bankrupt. USA has always been a corporation. In order to be bankrupt, you have to be a corporation. Well, officially, that should have told you right then, hello, The USA, of course, is a corporation. Always has been from day one, folks. There's no magic bullet here. No magic date. Ooh, on this date. Now, so when you hear these people talking about, we're going to go back to the original Constitution of this date, they're lying to you. They're scamming you. Either that or they simply do not know what the F they're talking about. Anyhow, yeah, since that day, it has been officially bankrupt because the first FRN was printed, and there was a lien put upon the corporation. Okay. This just gives you a little bit of idea and background of what's going on in the world today. Now, a lot of people say, oh, you must be crazy, you must be nuts. You know, the USA is a corporation, and I tell you, it's not even a country. And we're going to get into a lot of that. We're going to do some reviews for all the new listeners that have been tuning in as of late. And we're going to review the Constitution today. That's, of course, provided we have time, because we just never know what Jose's going to bring to the table. He's having trouble as always. Jose, remember you got to open up 2 separate browsers, brother. That's why I was having so much trouble last week. And as always, we have Jesse on the line with us. How you doing, dear?
I'm back. Well, I'm okay. Hi, everybody. My son's not sleeping, so I'm a little annoyed. So I've got the baby monitor on, so you'll hear him cry off and on. Sorry, but yeah. Anyway, I'm doing fine. How are you?
Doing great. I'm always doing good, you know. Nothing exciting down here to report. Same old. Just a little, another little hint, because people with what's been going on with the inauguration and that, you know, from time to time it tells you right in the documents, you know, the president does give an address. And it kind of follows shortly after the inauguration. You know, he'll call up Congress and Senate, and he'll give the address. Well, what's the name of that address he gives? The State of the Union. It's not the State of the country's address. It's not the United States of America address that the president gives. It's the State of the Union. Now, they tell us all the time the truth, folks. But we hear the word and we don't understand what they're saying, or, you know, we just simply, you know, have heard it so often. It's been repeated a million times. Just like with the word democracy. Well, read your organic constitution and look at your forefathers, and they've been asked when they came out, so what do we have? And, the quote's been, well, you have a republic if you can keep it. Yet every day, day in, day out, no matter what channel you listen to, what do you hear? We live in a democracy. They're running around the world preaching democracy. They're having wars up and down the Middle East and here and there and everywhere, all in the name of democracy. Democracy is evil, folks. Evil. That is a enslaved, a conquered people live in democracies. That's right. If you're a citizen at any form there of the word, you are a slave. You are chattel property. That's by law of contracts, folks.
The North and the South were together. They were never apart. It's when they created the Constitution of the United States of America that they separated some of the states. But in its original writing, I mean, they wrote in it all the names of all the states. It's not until Lincoln himself, being the first dictator, proclaimed war against all the individual states and as a group. So you see, if New York had invaded New Jersey back then, it would have just shown the truth. If Rhode Island had invaded Maine, it would have shown the truth. If Georgia had invaded Alabama, it would have shown the truth, wouldn't it? Lincoln went and proclaimed war on all the states. It was him against the states. It wasn't the North against the South. It was an international war wherein, for each individual state, he claimed war on all the other states. It was individually, and severally. And it was an international war, and something that I've been trying to get through to people all week long. You gotta understand, when you say United States of America, considering that the word state, country, and nation all mean exactly the same thing, you gotta get it. Gotta get it. You gotta understand it. You gotta see the definitions for what they're saying. State, country, and nation all mean the exact same thing. Therefore, when you say United States, you are also saying United Countries. You are also saying United Nations.
Well, now the United Nations didn't come into play till 1945.
Yeah, but still the definition sticks, Doc.
Well,
it stands. Okay, yeah. It was an international war. Each individual state was a country.
Law of contracts. It always comes back to that. Okay. I want to read over some of these postings here today before we get into anything else. And so those two will give. Oh, looks like here we go. Jose, you with us?
Yep, I finally found. Yeah, I don't know what it is about this thing. Internet Explorer, it's the only stable one I can call in on that doesn't give me too much of a problem. Firefox won't hold, doesn't hold Skype on my computer the way it's supposed to.
Interesting.
And so I have to use multiple browsers to do all of this. But, I was thinking that's kind of the way things have been done to us, throughout history. They used multiple directions of attack on us. So now, I'm kind of getting a little bit more insight from what I'm learning about my computer to the way the system actually is set up. Like I have to use Firefox for one thing. I have to use Internet Explorer for a completely different thing. And then I'm using Google for a totally different thing. And then I've got Skype program opened up so that I can talk to you guys, right? Well, I was thinking there's the financial aspect, money. They used that to attack us and enslave us. They used law, which is the 14th Amendment, and the, 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, the Reconstruction Amendments, where they reconstructed the Constitution. They didn't reconstruct the country because it's bullshit. They didn't go around giving people money so that they could have, so that they could rebuild their houses and all that kind of stuff. No, that's not the Reconstruction that was done. They brought together the North and the South. No, the North and the South were already together. They were both together under the Confederacy, under the Articles of Confederation.
Hello all and welcome to our Thursday evening show, The Community and the Constitution. We've had a lot of new listeners lately, and that's great, so we're going to do a little bit of review. I also want to hit on a couple of things here in the chat room. Chat room's already going crazy tonight. Chris is in there posting all kinds of great stuff for everyone. A lot of talk on everybody's minds with the debt ceiling and, of course, the presidential inauguration thing that went on. Ooh, yay, yay, big fucking deal. Excuse my French, just earlier in the show. Anywho, yeah, he's in. Yeah, he gave the speech. Oh, well, same as always. Nothing's going to change. By now, you should have noticed a 2% plus better increase in your taxes coming out from your Social Security. That took effect a couple of months ago, so you might notice a little bit less in your paycheck. Also coming up in the next couple of months, you're going to see another increase of about 1.5%, I think is the latest numbers I'm hearing. And that is going to be going to the Medicaid side of your withholdings. Yes, folks, by the time we're done, by the end of 2014, and this all comes about, you're going to be looking at, for the most part, you're going to be looking at, probably an additional anywhere from 15 to 19% additional income coming out of your check. Now, this is already on top of the great amount that people already have coming out of their paycheck. Yep, it's not going to happen here in the U.S. So some of the arguments say, really? Guess what? It's happened before. At one time, the United States citizens were taxed as high as 55%. Okay, 55% of your income, and this is what y'all keep voting in. Of course, voting is a crime here, and those of you who've been here long enough, you